Hello and happy hump day. Welcome to your Wednesday. Experts. We need experts, people who are really knowledgeable in their field. They're able to solve complex problems. They've spent many years honing their craft, studying, identifying patterns and issues so that they are an expert in their field. Research shows that experts actually solve problems differently to the way non-experts solve problems. They're very able to quickly recognize relevant information, to see patterns, to see those connections and linkages, to be able to then analyze the problem and find the solution to that problem. But with all expertise, there's a limit. There is a boundary where you are no longer an expert in your field. And it's really helpful to understand when does that knowledge, where does that expertise start and where does it stop? Leaders in organizations face this conundrum all the time. Often they're hired into a role because of their expertise. And then as they move through the organization, move into bigger roles, more senior roles, that expertise can become dated and less relevant. And it's likely that they'll come to a point in their career where what they were expert in, their technical craft, is actually no longer relevant in their role. And the challenge is this can often be hard because if you're a leader and you're used to being an expert, you're used to being the one who knows more than other people in the room, reaching that point where you're no longer the expert, you're needing to rely on people around you to be the experts. It means you start to play a different role. It also means you need to start to admit what you know and what you don't know and admit that you're not the expert. This can be hard. Often leaders feel like they need to have all the answers. They need to be the expert. They need to be the one that can come up with the idea and come up with the answer really quickly. And you worry that if you can't do that, you'll lose credibility and you'll lose respect with not only your team members, but also with your colleagues. Now, there is of course an upside to not being the expert in the room. The upside is when you know you're not the expert, you're far more willing to ask questions. You realize that there are people around you who have the ideas, they've got the content, they've got that subject matter data that you need. And your role as the leader is to ask the right questions, to dig into those details so that that expertise can rise to the surface and can then be used in the most productive way. You're also going to be more willing to seek out people with different ideas, people with different perspectives, people with different assumptions. And you're going to be open to hearing from a range of people. All of this is good for you because it builds the traits and the characteristics so that you're seen as a leader who, one, is willing to ask questions, two, recognizes where their knowledge starts and stops, and that you're willing to engage and connect with a broad range of people, all of which is good for your own development, but also good for your career. So rather than being seen as closed off to learning, you'll be seen as someone who is open to learning and open to new ideas. And that's good for you. And it makes your work far more interesting because you'll realize that you don't need to be the expert in everything, but that there will be people around you who have that knowledge. And what your role is to find that expertise and to tap into it. Now, as you do this, I really like this quote from Marcus Aurelius, who was a Roman emperor many years ago. And he said, "Everything we hear is an opinion, not a fact. And everything we see is a perspective, not the truth." So when you apply that to when you're seeking out expertise, how might that change how you think about the information that's presented to you and the information that you think you know, your assumptions, your beliefs, your interpretation of what is or what could be? Food for thought for this week. I'll see you next week.